On this edition of Monsters of Destruction, we spend a week in the life of Rick Swanson, driver of the Line X Obsession monster truck and devoted family man. And it's highlights from round 2 of the Monsters of Destruction tour next on MOD. Welcome to Monsters of Destruction Behind the Scenes. For the fans of monster truck racing, the drivers and their trucks are bigger than life. But everyone who gets behind the wheel of these massive machines has a story, a family, and a life away from the arenas. And Rick Swanson, owner and driver of the Line X Obsession truck, is no exception. And he got started in this industry with a very popular show Bronco.
The old show Bronco had some product sponsors. I started toying around with looking at the monster trucks. A friend of mine had one. And I was watching him getting paid $1,000 a day to go put it on display someplace. Well, I wanted to do something. My sponsors wanted me to do something and get some more, exposure. I mean, they were really happy. That Bronco was in over 150 magazines by the time I sold it. Worldwide, China, Japan, Spain, all over the place. So, that was a very good vehicle for me, got me a lot of recognition. Well, because of that vehicle, some of the product sponsors that didn't make anything for this truck bought components for this truck in order to have their name with the truck. I bought a Dan Patrick frame because I knew it was a proven frame. When I bought it 8 years ago, I actually bought it minus all brackets, minus anything. It was just the bare frame. I wanted to put 2 extra bars on the roll cage, the 2 bars coming straight down. I just felt that it was safer. When I originally built this truck, I wasn't going to drive it. It was going to be my wife's truck. Again, with her driving, I wanted everything as possible, as safe as possible. Unfortunately, the very first time she drove it, she stood on its tailgate, got hurt, and I was looking at this investment going, she ain't going to drive anymore, and I got to figure out how to drive it.
So Rick became the driver and is now at the top of his game. And despite the demands of the job, he has still found time to devote the energy and attention to his son Eric's racing passion.
With my job to begin with, I'm really lucky that Eric and I get to spend a lot of time together. He loves working on the truck with me. Now that he's gone into dirt bikes, and he's become to the level where it's at, there was people mentioned at the track, oh God, 103's here, that's his number. We don't want to race 103. You're next. You need to go line up. Set him up on the starting line. Give him his pep talk. And I think it's as much pep talk for me getting ready to watch him than it is for him. But, and then it's done in such a way that once he starts, I no longer look. It's his responsibility. Come, no, don't stop! Because I really think that there's a lot of dads that actually, are on the line holding the bike, doing this. And I don't think that's teaching them the responsibility, the whole aspect of racing. There he is, go! The class he races is so competitive. There's 3 of them that are just handlebar to handlebar. And, at 8 years old, there is no fear. The only fear is, losing. And they'll stick tires in corners that you just cringe when you see them do it. And they'll pass. They have no fear of rubbing at all. If they hit each other as they pass, they don't care. I'm going to the finish line. He's learning responsibility. He's learning patience. He's actually building mind skills, because a lot of people don't realize is when you're out racing, it's not just hold the gas and see what you can do. There's a lot of thought that has to go on. When they go into a corner, they have to think about how they're going to enter a corner, what they're going to do. And then when they start lapping riders, now they have to not only think what they're going to do, they have to set up the pass. So it's teaching them patience. It's teaching them control. I guess I could sit there and have him do homework for 100 hours a week, but I don't think he'd learn as much as what he's learning just in what real world is. And he understands that this whole setup with his sponsors and everything else there's a responsibility to everything. He has to take care of his sponsors. He has to send them pictures. You know, he has to call them and do stuff like that and meet with them. Hey, high five, bud. Good job. You did really good. It's just a mini scale of what I have to do. So the more responsibility and the more business sense I can teach him, and I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying the more I can do to make his job easier when he's my age and hopefully doing this, the more satisfied I am. Here. What do you think, man? Good job, buddy. Give me a kiss. That cross, right? Good luck. All right. Hey, I like that pass at the finish line, by the way. What? I know. Don't give up till you're done. Yeah. Race number 9, the 125 intermediate class. You did awesome. You did awesome. Hey, and by the way, when all three of you stopped at the finish line and shook each other's hand, that's cool. I like that. You and the other two guys, second and third, you all stopped at the finish line, shook hands. That's cool. That's good. That's good sportsmanship, and that's what it's about. Those goggles. He's got the characteristics of what needs to be in a racer. I mean, I think he has more than I do, even of what it takes to race, the attitude you have to have in order to race. The concept behind competition. You know, I mean, granted, win or lose, we're here to do what we're supposed to do. But, you know, winning always makes you feel good.
When we return, it's a day at the races with Rick, Jill, Eric, and Line X Obsession. Monsters of Destruction brought to you by AmeriGas, America's propane company. And MonsterTruckStore.com, your online source for monster truck merchandise. Welcome back to Monsters of Destruction. The drivers on the monster truck circuit can spend over 30 weekends a year out on the road. But getting out under the lights and hearing the roar of the crowd makes the long hours of labor and travel suddenly seem worth it. But what the fans don't know is that even on race day, there is a lot of work to be done.
Every day you race, you get to spend about $100 on an oil change. But we make the big time money, that's what I've been told. That's what the fans tell us, at least. You know, they always want to see the trucks rolled over, trucks crashed. Something, just to make them happy and make us lose more money, I think. That's about it. See where the shafts come down to, where the zip tie is? That's from the last hits. The front, I rebuilt the front last week and I took the reservoir and put it at the bottom of one of the front shocks. And when you do that, it makes the shock work a whole lot better, except it takes more pressure. Last weekend we were trying to figure out what pressure it needs to be to work right. And we went from 280 to 320. We're gonna bounce it up to 350 and try it for this weekend. Hopefully it'll do the job it's supposed to. This is going on 3 weeks. So after each race, it's been pressure washing. I've done 7 displays. I've done, after this weekend, 5 days of racing. Way too many. I'm looking forward to getting home. And then I've got 3 days off, or 3 days to get it all cleaned up and get it back ready, and then I gotta go down to Del Mar to San Diego State Fair. I get home on a Tuesday and I have to be there Friday night. But this trip hasn't been bad. I've had my 8-year-old and my wife with me, and we've been having a good time so far. As long as we make it through this weekend on a decent, without tearing too much stuff up, I'll be happy. This town's been pretty cool. I did a display yesterday at a car dealership. It's about 2 miles from the track, and I guess there's a lot of history on this track and how long it's been here, and it Cottage Grove kind of grew up around the track because the track was here first, and they've had some problems with some neighbors that moved in from out of state about the noise. And last year they won that the racetrack gets to stay here, so the local law enforcement, rather than towing it over here yesterday, they actually wanted me driving it because they wanted it as loud as possible so we could go by the lady's house that caused all the problems. So this town's pretty good. I can't complain. Saved me about 2 hours worth of changing tires. I got no complaints with that. And on top of that, for doing that, the Dodge dealer gave me a truck to drive around for the weekend. So I'm a happy camper. I love you. Give me a kiss for good luck, buddy.
After all the work is done, it's showtime.
Here comes lineup succession! Rick Swanson is the winner of the 2024
Then came Chicago-style racing in a matchup against Bigfoot.
So here we go with bracket number 2.
In the finals, it was all Line X obsession.
Rick Swanson and the Line X Obsession in the Ford Super Duty.
Good job, buddy. Thank you very much.
But even after a big win, the night's not over. There are fans to consider, and Rick signs autographs until the last kid leaves the track happy.
This is the Line X Obsession truck. It's an F250 Super Duty. It's a 2004 body style extended cab. It basically runs on a Dan Patrick chassis. Dan Patrick built probably 90% of the trucks out there. He definitely built all the fastest of the fast that are there. The frame is 8 years old. It's been competing for the last 7 years. It used to be standard to have the fuel cell up in front. I wanted mine in the back. That was one of the switches I wanted to do. I wanted to put 2 extra bars on the roll cage with 2 bars coming straight down. My motor is actually 3 inches further forward than a standard Patrick chassis frame. We use F106 centers. They're basically most common in like a 40-passenger school bus. Axle centers, and then we gusset them and flange them, and then from the flange out is a 6,000-pound all-terrain Clark forklift, which is basically a 20-ton planetary. By doing that, we take a rear axle out of a school bus, flange it, bolt the planetary on. Now we have steering in all 4 corners. When this was in a school bus, the top of it was actually the bottom. We flip them over. It hurts oiling your pinion, as far as, not sitting in the right location as designed by the factory, but we're not running this truck down a highway. We're doing 300 feet. The longest track I ever did, we did an oval that was a 1/4 mile, and that's it. So it's not like we got to worry about oiling problems as long as they're full to begin with. Some of the other things that I did different than everybody else is the inside where the gauges sit. It's real common to have everything in a cluster right here, right next to the driver's seat. So across my dash, I have My gauges on one side. When you're sitting in the seat, gauges are on one side. Your steering wheel tack and all your warning lights. And then all my switches are over here with my fire bottle and my emergency turn. So everything that's emergency or safety related is right here. Steering wheel, gauge, tack, and warning lights. And your regular gauges are here. So when you're sitting in the seat, either hand can touch anything. There was a lot more extra precaution done. The way the Lexan is, it's a little tighter than most trucks. Actually, believe it or not, the paint scheme came off of a birthday plate. I saw those colors. It actually was 3 colors. It was yellow, purple, and teal. And when I originally built the truck, the frame and axles were teal on this. And over time, you know, it was time to do a major overhaul on the truck, and that's how the frame got to purple. But believe it or not, the colors just came off of a birthday plate. And the design here was, I didn't want flames because, you know, other trucks have flames. I didn't want scallops because scallops were, you know, way back when. I wasn't quite sure what I really wanted. And one day, we were thumbing through a magazine. It was airbrushed on a car where the paper had been ripped. They made it look like cardboard paper where it's thick, so it ripped all jaggedy. And I thought, you know, that's something different. And for the last 8 years, these have varied quite a bit as far as, depending on what body's on the truck, how much they angle up, how much they angle down, and how far back they come on the cab. But they have always been this scheme. Our job is to make every little kid know what Line-X is, because if every little kid knows what Line-X spray-on bed liners are from this monster truck, every father will have one in because that's what their kid sees on TV.
When we return, it's off to Bakersfield, California. Highlights of round 2 of the Monsters of Destruction Tour are coming your way next. Monsters of Destruction brought to you by AmeriGas, America's propane company. And MonsterTruckStore.com, your online source for monster truck merchandise. Welcome back to the show. Round 2 of the Monsters of Destruction series featured all of the participants from round 1, with a notable exception. The Kevin Harvick Kid Rock truck, driven by Amber Skywalker, had to sit this one out after winning freestyle on night 1 with a huge trick that left her battered and broken and unable to compete in round 2. Now off to the races. In straight line drags, it was Paul Schaefer and the Frankenstein Monster Patrol versus top qualifier Bigfoot in semifinal number 1. Bigfoot gets the jump and powers his way across the finish line to move into the finals. In semifinal number 2, Dragon Slayer was matched up against the Line-X Obsession truck, and it was Dragon Slayer edging out Line-X by a fender and moving on to face Bigfoot in the finals. In the finals, it was 2 big dogs fighting it out looking for any edge. Bigfoot is first off the line, and he motors his way across the finish line ahead of Dragon Slayer, making up for a subpar straight line drag performance in round 1. For Dan Runty, he was just happy to be in the winner's circle.
You went against Dragon Slayer. That was pretty tough.
He's a tough competitor. Craig's been at it just about as long as I have. We actually talked about it last night. I've been driving about a year longer than he has. I mean,
you guys are good friends.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we get along. We had some rough times, you know, back when we were both starting out. Headstrong, you know, but he's a good friend of mine now, and we help each other out. It's just really cool.
In the straight line drags point standings, Frankenstein Monster Patrol holds a 1-point lead over Dragon Slayer. Bigfoot sits third with 40 points, and Line-X Obsession and Spider-Man round out the top 5. For the Chicago-style race, it was Bigfoot going up against a formidable opponent in Spider-Man in semifinal number 1. But Bigfoot has his truck dialed in as he keeps just ahead of Spider-Man, taking home the win and advancing on to his second finals of the evening. In semifinal number 2, it was Dragon Slayer against the surprising 3-way Chevrolet Punisher truck, who made it into the semifinals by beating Line-X Obsession. The 3-way Chevrolet is overmatched from the start as Dragon Slayer makes it look easy, taking the win and moving on to once again face off against Bigfoot in the finals. In the finals, Dragon Slayer was looking to avenge his earlier loss, but it was not to be, as Bigfoot remains on top of his game, taking the win and completing the sweep of the straight line drag and Chicago-style races. In the point standings for Chicago-style, Bigfoot remains perfect with 2 wins and 50 points. Dragon Slayer is second, just 6 points back, while Frankenstein Monster Patrol is in third place with 33 points. Spider-Man holds on to fourth with a 2-way tie for 5th between Line-X Obsession and 3-way Chevrolet Punisher. And now for a look at some of the exciting freestyle highlights from round 2. The drivers were definitely letting it all hang out. But no one could match Dragon Slayer on this night, pumped up after 2 second-place finishes. He gives the crowd what they want with an aggressive and spectacular performance. No doubt about it, Craig Christensen and Dragon Slayer are the top freestylers on this night. That's all the time we have for this edition of Monsters of Destruction. Thanks for watching, and remember, there are men, there are machines, and then there are monsters of destruction.